This video is going to break down everything you need to know about setting up your soil fabric pots for indoor cultivation. Timestamps and links to all recommended products are included in the description, so if you want to support or only watch specific parts, check that out. Chapter 1. Choosing a fabric pot. The majority of the most popular fruits and vegetables have shallow roots. This means that you don't really need the soil to be that deep. Strawberries, for instance, have 75% of their roots in the top 6 inches of the soil, so make sure you choose a fabric pot that suits your plant's needs. I'll be using standard 12-inch fabric pots, but I'm not going to fill them to the brim. Instead, I'm going to fill it up around 8 inches high, but before I do so, I have to pre-moisten my soil. Chapter 2. Soil selection. Almost all plants that bear fruits or vegetables indoors will prefer well-draining soil. Texture is extremely important, and when your soil is completely saturated, you don't want it to be muddy because this will clog up your soil, which could suffocate your plants. Most topsoils are well-draining, and if you can't find any brands, check the description for soils I recommend. One thing I would recommend for all soils is mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae is a fungal network that grows on your plant's roots. There's too many scientific studies that prove it improves your growth of your plants to not use it. In exchange for housing, they'll help fight off diseases, stabilize the pH in the soil, break down nutrients that the plant can't consume to a consumable form, and help prevent overwatering because the hyphae create an air buffer. So, selecting a soil with a diverse biosphere is gonna help maximize output and yield. Look for these big-ass scientific words on your bag of soil, such as glomus interradices, rhizo, whatever. If they don't have any, you can add them in powdered form, also linked in the description. Now, these beneficial microbes are also known as bennies, and they're only gonna activate once the soil is moistened. So I'd recommend adding about 2 gallons of water to every 2 cubic feet of soil. That's equivalent to around a half a gallon of water for each 5-gallon fabric pot. You want to mix this in a container that you can seal, and this process is called brewing. This moisture will allow the spores to hatch and attach to your plant roots when you're ready to use. Chapter 3. Amendments. For synthetic grows, you'll be adding liquid fertilizer such as my bloom juice or my veg juice to your feeds, so you don't have to worry about adding anything initially. For organic grows, you really want to know how much nutrients are already in the soil, but for the soils that I recommend, the safest add-ons would be an all-purpose 444 and some worm castings. This will give your plants a good nitrogen-heavy NPK, which will help plants focus on lush green foliage instead of fruits, which will be the focus later on. The amount I add is 2 tablespoons of 444 and 1 quart of worm castings to every 5-gallon fabric pot's worth of soil. Mix this in with your pre-moistened soil and let it sit for at least 5 days before you use it. Finally, Chapter 4. Filling the pot. Overwatering is an issue that we all experience when growing new plants. One of the secret hacks I use is to add a 1-inch layer of coarse perlite on the bottom of my fabric pots to prevent any excess water from waterlogging my soil. This is about 1.5 quarts for a 5-gallon fabric pot. Wear a mask when you do this and gently pour it into the bottom of your pot. A spray of water will help keep the dust down, and you want to level this perlite flat. As I said earlier, the amount of soil you'll use is based on the type of plant you're growing, and I'm only setting up these pots the day I need to transplant either my sproutlings or my clones. One trick I could give you, you want your soil to be fluffy. You do not by any means want to push down and compress it, because then it's hard for the roots to go down in the soil. All right, you want it airy. So instead of pushing down to add more soil, do one of these. Easy. If you value this content, like, comment, and hit that bell. For full guides on some of the most popular fruits and veggies to grow indoors, check out my site, eviegrows.com.